He's been a recording artist, an ambassador for the Gridiron Greats. He's in the medical marijuana space. And yes, he's the same guy that threw the Jets helmets years ago. He is Kyle Turley.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Kearney.
This is Toy Cook.
I'm Randy Mueller.
This is Quinn.
I'm Delvin Bro.
I'm Alex Molden.
I'm Jake Cup. And this is Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
The Life of a Saint.
Life of a Saint.
Life of a Saint.
And this is Life of a Saint.
Whodat.
All right, Kyle, I guess we'll start at the beginning. How old were you when you first started playing football or first got into football?
I loved football since I was born. It escaped me, whatever reasons. My freshman year, I didn't make grades, so I couldn't play as a freshman. And then I switched high schools twice. My parents were going through divorce. They didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit. So I was out the house skating and surfing as much as I could. Gotcha. And then went to, my senior year. Just decided, I got to go out at least once. I love football. I always loved it. The little towns I lived in prior to moving to California didn't even have it. And I just wanted to play it so bad. But I got into high school, and then the high school I went to, the guys were monsters. And I was a wrestler, and I felt confident with my abilities. But, I mean, football was just like, before concussions, I saw all my friends blowing their knees out, breaking their arms, shit like that. And I was just like, man, I'm not I'm not doing that right now. Mainly it was California and the summer.
Gotcha.
Because, you got to give up 2 weeks or 3 weeks of your summer for football in high school, and I wasn't about to do that. Especially, I was getting good at surfing finally, so there was no way.
So we've spoken in the past, and you mentioned Ed White as super influential in you choosing offensive line as your position. I know at one point you were presented with offensive line versus defensive line. Is that the sole reason? Is Ed White the sole reason why you chose to be an offensive lineman?
Yeah, he was the only reason. That was it.
And
I would have been a defensive end if it wasn't for Ed White.
So what exactly was it about Ed White that convinced you to go that route?
The coaches, I got recruited. I signed my scholarship under Al Luganville. He was the coach that brought Marshall Falk in and things like that. And that's who recruited me and signed me. And I was supposed to play defensive end, outside linebacker. That's all I played in high school, and that's all anybody else wanted me to play. Iowa State wanted me to play that. New Mexico, UNLV, all these teams I took trips to. I was a defensive end, outside linebacker. I was 6'4", coming into college, out of high school, 6'4", like 230, 35, and run like the wind and go after the ball. And now it's great. And I loved it. I was a wrestler, so it made sense. And then they redshirted me my freshman year, and that was basically it, because that gave them the opportunity to see me as an offensive lineman, because, I ran the scout team, and they put me on both sides of the ball, and I was, I didn't know, so I just said, whatever, you guys gave me a scholarship, I'll go out here and practice and play, and on the scout team here, and, do my part. I need to get better as a football player and understand this game a bit more. And then Luganville and them came to me, and they're like, Kyle, you'll be a great defensive lineman. You'll play in the NFL. You'll get drafted, the whole thing, man. You might be a first rounder. They said, but Kyle, we see something in you that you might be one of the greatest offensive linemen to play this game. And I was like, what? I'm just a freshman. And for coaches to say things like that to you, that's impactful. And then Al Luganville got fired, and I thought, yes, I'm back to defense. I'm going to go kill people. And the day that they brought in the new coach, Ted Tolner, he had his first team meeting, and we were all sitting there. he had every coach introduce themselves, and I just got locked in on Ed White, man. It was unreal. It was like the D-line coach, that had a part to do with it. D-line coach was just, good guy, but didn't appeal to me, that I want to really play for this guy. But I didn't care, it never mattered to me who I played for. I played football, and I did it well. They were all like me. But Ed White got his turn up there, and just a magnet, man. I don't know what it was. And I remember, leaving that room and going out. Coach Toller said, go, leave this meeting, go wherever you want. And we don't care. We'll sort it out here in spring ball. And I remember just standing outside. I was the last person to go into a room because I was just standing in the middle of the quad area there at the meeting rooms of the old Aztecs facilities. And it was just dark at night, and I was just looking around. I was like, everybody's gone in the room. I don't know where to go. Like, do I go here? Do I go there? It's like literally, one of those moments in life where you have a door in front of you, choose to go through it. And my ultimate goal was to make it to the NFL. And I just felt, personally, and then, I got coached by some great guys. I mean, my high school coaches were phenomenal. I couldn't ask for any better coaches. Like, mentors. I'm still friends and family to this day, and Ed White, just spoke that to me. I don't know what it was, but I just decided, well, I want to make it to the NFL, and I want to be the best football player I could be. And I just started playing, so let me go over here. Because Ed White and those guys came to me, too. They're like, wow, Kyle, we'd love to have you on the O-line, and I was just like, well, and I walked in the line room. I was late to the meeting, my first meeting.
That's tough. That's a tough.
And they said to me, they're like, well, we were wondering if you were going to make it in here.
I guess it turned out to be the right decision.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd had a lot of fun playing defense, that's for sure. Everybody all hyped on J.J. Watt. I was that dude before that dude.
From your high school playing days through college and up to that draft, what was the toughest obstacle you faced in getting from point A to point B?
School. School. Dealing with people, dealing with administrators, dealing with, the whole student-athlete side of things. This whole conversation going on right now about student athletes getting paid. Mm-hmm. I was, again, a 6'4", and growing. I became 6'5", 230-pound defensive lineman that got switched to O-line. $720 a month on a scholarship check, trying to pay rent and bills and everything else. I was a kid, 5 kids from, my dad was a truck driver. I didn't have nothing. And it was hard. It was hard to be a student athlete. It was hard to eat. It was hard to recover. It was hard to play that game, being in training camps and all that with, having San Diego State administration not really give a damn about the program. They still don't. We had horrible food. The living conditions were, same from anybody else in the dorms, But, I didn't want to be in the animal house. I wanted to focus on football. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I didn't do nothing. I was committed to the dream, making it to the NFL. The only thing that ever stood in the way of that was school.
Gotcha.
I should have left early as a junior. I had teams telling me they were going to draft me in the first round as a junior if I'd have come out.
Gotcha.
And, my path was football. I loved the game. That was meant for me, and I, as a student who wasn't the right side of the brain that they're looking for, I was an art major. And that was luckily because I went to a school that had art. But I don't even have a degree from San Diego State because they wouldn't let me be an art major my first 2 years because my scholarship wouldn't pay for my art supplies. And so I had to major in political science and whatever else everybody else is doing. horrible grades. San Diego State sent me a bill my last year because I finally, said, I'm out of here. And I took all my classes my senior year, credit, no credit. Of course, I didn't get credit. And they sent me a $22,000 bill for my scholarship for my senior year playing football for them, where I was a finalist for the Outland Trophy that they never promoted me for. The Lombardi Award, San Diego State never promoted me for. They didn't do nothing to help me get out of there and to maximize. I was Marshall Falk on the offensive line, and nobody knew it.
Right.
Everything I did, everything I got was because I showed up and proved it. And from the Senior Bowl to everything else. Everybody else, from my high school teachers that said I'd never make it because of academics only. I was one of the greatest, best kids in this damn school. It's just academics, man. That gets in the way of a lot of kids' careers. And, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Everything else was just there for me to take advantage of. All I had to do was put my cleats on and go out there. I was going to get it.
And if you had to pick somebody that was like the key piece of the puzzle to help get you to the NFL, who would that be?
Ed White.
Okay.
That was being there with him for those 4 years as an offensive lineman, learning how to play that position from scratch, earning that position, and having the confidence that he gave me as a freshman that I took a senior's job, and he was willing to take that chance. I only played on the scout team the year before, and I earned that job, and he recognized that. To my high school coach, Dan Garola in high school, between he and just Ed White, though, was just that pivotal time in my life. I was on my own, and everybody else was there to party and have fun because they're at San Diego State and they didn't think they're going to the NFL, and I just knew where I was going, and that guy gave me every bit of verbal, backing, and then just what I saw in him. There were things that happened during my college career there with him and his family. He lost a daughter in the interim of us going to college there, and devoted his time to us unselfishly, unbelievably.
Wow.
When his daughter was in a coma and fighting for 3 years in a brain injury situation, beautiful daughter that was getting a full scholarship to big school to play basketball, and just seeing that guy come to work every day and battle through that, and then give on top of that, unbelievable advice and knowledge to us. It wasn't like it was. I'm sure he used it as his escape, but you could say to a man from our offensive line, because every one of us could have made it to the NFL, that he's the reason. We all did wanted to. The only guys that didn't actually refused to. The NFL wanted them to play. We had a guy, Rob Whitman, who the Chargers begged him. They told him, like, we're going to draft you. Like, you need to come play for us. And he's like, no, I don't want to play football no more.
Wow.
And then Ephraim, but how many schools have two tackles, that go on to get drafted in the NFL and make the all-rookie team as the two tackles? Ephraim Salam played 13 years. I played 10 or 9 or whatever, technically. And, the accolades are there. How many, and that's the spectrum of when Ephraim finally got it, after he got drafted and got to the NFL, and then knew he had to fight, because he was coached by one of the greatest, and he didn't take full advantage of that, and then he realized, he needed to do that when he went to Atlanta with Art Shell, and that he had a second chance in that, and soaked up everything from Art Shell, and Art Shell brought him there because of Ed White,
Gotcha.
And everybody else around us. He was the catalyst and the reason, period. We still get together every now and then and go up to his ranch up in the mountains outside of Julian in San Diego. And, old guys from the Chargers and, go up there still. And You know, you ask to a man in the NFL, period. You don't even have to just ask Aztec guys. Anybody, you ask anybody in the NFL about Ed White, you'll hear the same stories.
So you were a first-round draft pick, an early first-round draft pick at that. First offensive lineman taken off the board. Is there any extra pressure knowing that you're walking into camp and there's these expectations on you to produce and produce early?
Nah, I don't know. I never felt the pressure because it wasn't. There was just, it was opportunity for me. I came from San Diego State. Here I am, not supposed to be here with all these kids at the Senior Bowl. From all these big schools, all these kids at the combine from all these big schools, and all these, guys. I mean, at the college football awards, at the All-American awards. I'm just sitting basically in the corner. And with Randy Moss and Peyton Manning, and I'm just like. Charles Woodson, I'm over here in South Turley, San Diego State, like just happy to be here, and that was unfortunate, because if I would have went to any one of those other big schools, I might have been the first pick in the 1998 draft, from what I accomplished. I don't think I look back through the years and not one kid from a sub big conference school has done what I've done. And and that was showing up to the Senior Bowl and destroying everyone, and walking out of there without a doubt in these coaches' mind that I'm on the top of their board, to go in the combine and still have one of the most prolific combine performances for an offensive lineman in NFL history. That's still on the board, That was with nothing, just straight pure waking up and going to get it,
Right.
and having that desire and those things that I learned from my coaches, and Ed White and Dan Garola and these guys that instilled in me, these ideals that if you get up and show up and you just go after it, good things are going to happen. And I was pretty fortunate to be around the people I was and have the opportunities that I did, because I did choose to go to San Diego State. That's the only thing, and regret-wise, that I think about these days is maybe I should have gone to Iowa State. I would have been in a big conference school, and I would have had the opportunity to still wrestle there. But, big conference school would have changed everything about me because, to be the 7th pick in the first round out of San Diego State,
Right.
That's not happened to any other school that's like San Diego State.
So the NFL, it's kind of like a dog-eat-dog world where nobody wants to give up their position to a first-round draft pick or anybody else for that matter. Is there anybody that when you arrived in New Orleans kind of took you under their wing and kind of showed you the ropes of what it was like to be a pro?
Yeah, Jerry Fontenot, my center.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a 10-year guy. I got there, brand new, fresh, wet behind the ears, and he took me under his wing, he and his family, but him mostly, just being who he was out there every day for me, having a guy. I mean, I played with a lot of guys, and coming in as a rookie, I can't imagine going in with anybody else. The other guys I would have been fighting them on the field because they were just assholes. They didn't like rookies, and they didn't like having to do their job and tell people where to go. It's just part of offensive line is communication and and being a brotherhood and things like that. When I got to New Orleans, Jerry Fontenot was my brother immediately.
All right, so you were a 2-time All-Pro, but never made a Pro Bowl. Some reason for me, the math isn't mathing. Can you explain how that happens?
Yeah, of course, but we can't talk about that.
Fair enough.
I mean, if my name was, I don't know, whatever. What had nothing to do with the name on my back. It had everything to do with other things that, people don't like to admit to that happened. And, I came back and I made the Dolphins roster there as a tight end coming back. but they didn't want to give that to me because I don't know why. They maybe didn't want to see me catching touchdowns or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that there was no reason guys like, that made those Pro Bowls and are now nominated for the Hall of Fame and all these other things got the film I got. You can put on the film. That's all I have to say. And unfortunately, that's just reality. People don't like to talk about it, but I was the nasty, dirty bastard, and that wasn't, that was Conrad Dobler all over again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They didn't like that from me. They loved it from guys like Charles Bentley for some reason, and other guys like that. I don't know why.
So down in Miami, you try out actually as a tight end. Is that the first time you ever played tight end, or?
Yeah, no, that was just I was underweight, and they weren't letting me come back to be a defensive end. All the teams refused to let me try out to be a defensive end. I don't know why. And then so I said, okay, well, I can catch a football too. I can catch a football real well.
Gotcha.
And and I know offense, so I can play tight end. That's easy. That's a dumb position. And I did. And I went down to Miami in a rookie mini camp after having blown out my back, had surgery, made it all the way back, 255 pounds, maybe 7% body fat, and lit it up. I dropped one ball the entire 3-day mini camp of 2-a-days. And it came down to me going up to Nick Saban's office where everybody on the team thought I was getting signed to sitting there and having to explain myself and how we're going to deal with things in the media together. That's all he wanted to talk about. And I guess I didn't give him the right yes sir answer that he was looking for, and admit to my wrongs. Because I never committed any. I was a football player trying to play football, and I didn't need all the, extracurricular chatter from coaches out there in the media talking about me and my injury status, which is what happened between me and Mike Martz.
Right.
He should have known what was going on. It wasn't my fault he didn't have communication with the general manager that knew everything. And I didn't know, as a young kid, that between Mike Martz and Jay Zigman, that they would rather slit each other's throats and not communicate at all, And I was placed in that position. Then I go to Miami on a comeback, trying to get my life back and earn a job, earn the opportunity to play tight end for the Dolphins.
Right.
And flew all the effing way across the country to do so and give my time to a rookie minicamp and show them that I was ready for that. And then they put me on the bus that day after I went and met with Saban. Everybody on the team thought I was getting signed. You can go ask Coach Dooley, who was my tight ends coach, and he thought, awesome, Kyle Turley's going to be a tight end catching touchdowns in the NFL. I just don't think they wanted that, honestly. They didn't want me catching touchdowns. They didn't want me getting sacked. They didn't want me, period. They made it as hard as possible for me to get back in. And luckily, I had a couple guys in my corner up in Kansas City who were my, Bill Kuharich, my old general manager, drafted me from the Saints. And he brought me in. I was the third tight end from Tony Gonzalez, Jason Dunn. I was the third tight end. And then Willie Ropes decides to retire right before training camp. And they get put in a pickle. And they begged me to play offensive line, and I gave in. And went back out there. And when I should have been taking 10 snaps a game, and prolonging my career as a tight end, went back out for 70 snaps a game and beat the rest out of my body, beat the piss out of it. And walked away gimping, and my foot was numb, tore my ankle up, needed to get that reconstructed. I took 40 bone chips out of my left shoulder. But I played offensive line at 270 pounds in 2006. And if they would have left me in the damn game, again, you, for whatever reason, these guys, they don't allow you to work out your kinks because of certain, perceptions. I played with great coaches who always allowed you to work it through. And these guys knew I was doing them a favor and trying to work this out. And they kept putting me on the bench, bringing guys in and this and that and the other. And I was doing a good job, and I was getting better. They just didn't allow me the opportunity to really grow back into the position. And, they just expected me to be Kyle Turley all over again, after I came there as a damn tight end, And it was like, and so I got a little disgruntled, sitting on the bench. Then I had a 2-year contract. I was going to wait that out. And my next year, I was going to go get it big because I was going to make bigger money again, coming back on my second year of the contract. And Carl Peterson decides to cut me, It was a scam, Sign this 2-year deal, Kyle. We're going to cut you, though, after it's over in the first year. So then you got to come back again with all your, injuries, and we're going to give you the league minimum again. And then I was back in the same boat. And I had guys coming in like, what was the guy? Whoever they would bring in. They brought in tackles, paying them millions of dollars, and I'm starting for them because they won't even practice or play. McIntosh and Chris Terry doesn't even show up. I get a call from the Chiefs. They told me, I said, I'm ready to go. And they said, well, we're going to let Chris play this game. They flew to Denver. Well, guess what? Chris Terry doesn't show up. He disappears. Apparently he's got that M.O. And he doesn't show up sometimes and disappears on people, goes ghost. And I'm back in Kansas City, get a call, Kyle, can you get on a plane and come to Denver? And I'm just like, no, good luck. You guys had me, and you're doing this to me now, and you're not giving me the opportunity to work through this. I'm ready to do it. And it did to me twice, 2 years in a row. I got released. My last year, coming to the Chiefs was walking in on a snowy day to work after I'd just kicked the shit out of the Chargers defensive line. We ended up, I don't know if we lost or won the game, but I pushed myself through that game after my foot went numb, but I went and got an MRI right after that game, and Carl Peterson calls me and says, Kyle, we're going to release you, put you on the IR, that ankle needs surgery. And I was like, I just played the game on it. I fatted it up. We only got a few left. I'm fine. No, sorry, it's okay. You can just head home. And I'm like, whoa, I just went through all this training camp, all these games. I gave my damn body to you guys, and now you're going to just release me. I walked in on a snowy day, down the tunnel at Arrowhead Stadium, to the locker room to receive a box from the equipment guy with all my crap in it, and a new guy sitting in my locker. Wow. And I'm just like, I'm done. I am done. I'm out of here. I'm done with the league.
And I'll be honest with you, that's why a lot of fans do not have any issue with players getting a lot of front-loaded contracts, is because if they don't look out for themselves, nobody's looking out for them.
Not at all. Not at all. I almost came back, got myself back in shape again. I was down in Mexico at a house down there and restaurant and everything, and I was done with it. My agent called me. He's like, Kyle, the Patriots want you. I was like, no! I was like, I want to go play for them so bad. I'd heard so many good things about Belichick as far as, the way he ran his team, and I needed 3 surgeries, and I didn't get them after that whole deal, and it was too late by the time I got that call. I would have been, I need 3 surgeries. They're not going to sign me now. I'm not going to fail this physical. I didn't go get surgeries right away and be healthy again, All
right, so when you're speaking with Kyle Turley, obviously the helmet throwing incident is going to come up. It kind of seems like that is what you're most known for. Like when you look up Kyle Turley, that's the first images that are going to show up on Google, the first stories that are going to show up in the feed. Does that bother you that you're remembered for that specific play, or not really?
No, not at all, man. I was offensive lineman. We don't get known for anything but giving up sacks and jumping off sides. So it was cool to be known for doing my job. At least right or wrong, I went too far. Yes, I didn't know that penalties were offsetting. Sorry, I thought I was out, and there was let me go out with a bang, and I did it. Sorry, and at the end of it, that my intent was pure and that my job and I was there to protect this guy. And I literally thought that Damian Robinson had just broken his neck, literally, because of the scream I heard coming out of his mouth.
Right.
And, I was just like, and and all the things that I had going on. I had a lot of cognitive issues that were real, that were happening at the time, that they just played off. Like real things, like vertigo constantly was happening. And the doctors down there in New Orleans, they test me for everything else, but want to test me for my brain and do a brain scan. I had so many episodes of vertigo that I researched it later to know that that's an indicative sign of a disease called Meniere's disease, and that if you checked everything else out and you don't have a hearing problem or vision issues or anything like that, then you need to get a brain scan right away, because you could possibly have something going on with your brain, where you might have a brain bleed, and it might have Meniere's disease. And they never gave me a brain scan once. They never even alluded to that something could be going on with my brain whatsoever, And then I did that, and they sent me to anger management, and always the schools and the league and everybody else that just uses you up as an athlete, no guaranteed contracts in the NFL. Sure, you're making a lot of money if you can get that, and you can become one of those guys and one of those players. But most guys aren't. I was pretty fortunate to have gotten to that level and had that ability to negotiate big contracts like that. But they were still non-guaranteed. I signed a $30 million deal with St. Louis, and they cut me 2 years later when I was rehabbing an injury after I had an all-pro season.
What made or continues to make the city of New Orleans so special for you?
Man, just the people. Honestly, the people are the salt of the earth, and it was, proven to me every day. It's a rare thing to be able to go somewhere and know that in one of the scariest places in the world, you're actually safe.
Right.
New Orleans is not a safe city according to the rest of the world, and I can walk down the worst neighborhoods in New Orleans, and I just know the people,
Right.
And it was amazing. It was awesome to be a part of that city. I skipped a Pro Bowl to that city. The coaches, Jim Haslett and Randy Miller, the general manager, they begged me to go to the Pro Bowl, but I skipped it because they wanted me to be the king of Endymion in the Mardi Gras parade.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? They selected me first before the Pro Bowl did. I was like that year was my first year making the Pro Bowl I made All Pro, which both years I made All Pro, and I was the first alternate to the Pro Bowl. Come on. the All Pro team is one team.
Right.
And,
right.
And to make that, every other guy that makes the All Pro team makes the Pro Bowl.
Right.
I was the guy who got All Pro recognition, and not one player vote, not one collective team player vote. Every coach's vote in the NFL, and not one player vote, literally, in the 2 years that I made the All Pro team. Not one. New Orleans was a special place. Still is. As soon as football's over, I'm moving to not football, but life with my kids and all these other things where I'm back on my own. As soon as that, is the case, or just me and my wife, when we talk about, when we're done with the kids and all that, and we're ready to retire, we're moving back to New Orleans.
Awesome.
And just because the city's amazing. The people, that's the main reason, but the city is just pretty special. You can go. I want to live down the quarter or uptown and just walk everywhere every day and eat the greatest food in the world, and be around just know everywhere. I can walk in the House of Blues. I can walk in any event. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just because of how they feel about me and the Saints.
Right. So throughout your career and actually post-career, whatever awards and accolades you might have received, is there anything that's extra special to you, or do they all kind of meld into, they're all honors and nothing kind of really sticks out for you?
No, not really. I mean, I didn't get the awards, just being nominated, really, that was awesome. But I never got the awards, I mean, making all pro. I mean, those are the best because that's one team,
Right.
But they don't even give you nothing. I made all pro twice. I don't have anything from the NFL from making all pro.
That's
nothing.
crazy. That's hard to believe.
Insane. I got nothing from the Saints when I made all pro. Got nothing from Tom Benson. He's the worst owner ever. I got nothing from the Rams for making all pro. Nothing.
Question I love asking former NFL players. What was it like? Was it super tough adjusting to like regular life after the end of your playing days?
Of course. If anybody can imagine committing your life to something and then having it ripped out from under you, and then what are you going to do? You're only 35.
Right.
And you could still play football, but you're not what they want. And you can go do all kinds of other things. I'll go get my job I wanted to get out of high school right now, throwing luggage at the airlines at LAX. But what do you do? What do you do with your life? You got to be on a whole new quest because and it's a mind trip because that's what football was. That wasn't just our job. That was a dream I had from when I was a kid. And then to have that opportunity to make it a job, everybody else, they get over it because they had to get over it early after high school.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then my college buddies, they had to get over it after college, But I went into the NFL, and if you get in there and you stay in that long and you're at that level, you're just like, my goals were different than others. My goals were to make Pro Bowls, make all pro. My goals were to make the Hall of Fame. That was my goal. My goal was to play 15 years. And that didn't happen.
Right.
So then you got to figure it out again. And what does life give you for goals? Nothing. It's a joke out here. It's the real world is a joke. In the football world, you're just super sheltered. You don't see the outside problems.
Gotcha.
I mean, from 9/11 to hurricanes to we got on an airplane and went to hotels and we got first class service and we didn't experience the world the way that everybody else has to live it.
Now, moving on to the Turley band and some of the music that you've done post-career, is music something that's always been part of your life, or is that something that you kind of picked up and ran with after your playing days were over?
No, music was always part of my life. I loved music from a little kid. Was always into music more than my siblings and wanted to hear music, learn how to play instruments, things like that, So getting into the NFL and having money and then being able to buy those instruments and then, get a studio space, rent a space and put up a full studio, and have the whole thing stocked full of gear and be able to lead practice finally and go to a studio with the guys and bring other people around and jam out and finally do all those cool things I wanted to do I just kept going with it. I had the money to do it. I had the money to blow $1 million in the music industry, creating a record label and buying tour buses and touring the country with big, huge artists. And, I went after it. I love music. I enjoy it thoroughly. Still, music is a huge part of my life. It's a passion. That's the one thing that I went after because that was, a dream as well. That's a passion. It just feels right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that you're just, when you're really good at something and you're like, wow, it just feels good. And you just feel all that energy from it. And whatever that is, whether that's doing taxes for people or, because I know guys that love that, to play music or football. It's one of those things. And, just music's another hard road and a hard industry to be in. It's as hard, if not harder, than breaking it, into football. Things like that.
So I know in interviews I've seen with you that at one point you had called the NFL suicide prevention hotline. Was it just the one time that happened, or did it happen more than once, or take me through where your head was for that?
I called a couple times.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it was out there. They just put it in after my friend Junior killed himself, and you know, I was a part of that, you know, reasoning, I guess, and that I was working on a lot of retired player stuff, and I just felt like if I did it and didn't call, then I'd be a hypocrite, and so, you know, I credit that in a major way to, you know, somewhat of my recovery. And the person I finally got the opportunity to talk to on the other end of the line was, you know, on the last call, was one that helped me realize that, that it's worth it, and we're, you know, and there's a way to go after it and get it back, and that's through what I do now, and that's through this plant. You know, when I was on a suicide hotline 10 years ago, I had a person tell me that, well, you know, what are you taking? I'm taking this med, I'm taking that med, I'm smoking a little marijuana every now and then. You know, they're like, do that more, literally.
Wow.
And that's what saved my life. You know, was realizing, wow, I knew there was something here with this plant. I knew that I had something wrong in my brain. I knew these medications weren't fixing it, doing anything good for it. I've got to get this. I've got to find this out. And I went and moved back to California, and here we are. You know, I've 5+ years, not one vertigo episode, resolutions, and so many issues dealing with pain and injury, to, you know, the whole mental side of it, and, you know, being able to get my life back.
Kind of a lead into the next question, but NeuroXPF and some of the work that you've been doing with medicinal marijuana, what are your goals with both the company and the message that you've got to put out there to the world?
My goals on it are just to legalize marijuana, period. You know, to expose CBD with NeuroXPF at the base level of cannabis, you know, is my charge in that, because CBD alone has unbelievable medicinal powers. CBD alone saves my life daily, and everybody else that I give it to, and gets people off pills, and you know, helps you become better. I mean, unreal, the resolutions I've experienced through just CBD alone. And then to know the full plant opportunities, because I went and delved into it and learned, you know, I can, and I've given these same strains of this plant that everybody thinks weed is just weed, and it's not, you know, and it's a very medicinal plant. It has the opportunity to destroy diseases and recover lives, save marriages, and everything else. And I just don't understand the fight against it whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. And then you look to the science of it and why that is, and what I've learned on that end is drives me even further and harder to finish this thing, to get it done, to legalize marijuana, be at least one part and one component, using my voice as a professional athlete, somebody who has a voice in the media, you know, and the opportunity to talk to the people like yourself and leave a message out there that people are going to listen to. I want to be standing on the right side of this, because the wrong side is what's still happening today, and it's killing us. It killed Tyler Skaggs, and it's going to kill more this year and more next year. And these people are a bunch of criminals that are getting away with killing us. And there has not been, I mean, football, sports in general, not one group of people outside of these little kids with seizures that are more pilled out than us. And that's why you see the resolutions for those kids, and that's why you'll see the resolutions ultimately in this for us with football, and how it will save football, because it can immediately stop the death rate. All the studies say it that they've ever done on cannabis and traumatic brain injury, and it is very real. So, you know, my whole thing is to ultimately be one cog in the machine, and all the great people that have come before me that unfortunately have been, you know, ostracized because they're just a bunch of hippies.
Right.
You know, that's why I got into this. I got into this because I saw that. I knew that this has to change. This has to get to the masses, and the way you do that is through sports, because, you know, through sports comes injury, and unfortunately, you know, they give us pills. They still give everybody pills. They're still doing Toradol shots. They're still doing all these things that they say they've mended, and it's, well, we don't give them out in frequency anymore. Like, well, it only takes one.
So knowing your story and what marijuana has done for you personally, basically saved your life. I know you're putting a lot of messages out there, both through social media and through your company. Is there anyone that's ever reached out to you? Maybe a personal question, but has anyone ever reached out to you and said, hey, you know what? I just wanted to let you know your message literally saved my life as well?
I'm on about 20 of those.
Wow.
Yeah. Or more.
Wow. I mean, that in itself has got to be pretty gratifying.
Oh, yeah. I try to post messages every now and then. People send me, on my DMs and things like, you're right. This is unbelievable. I've gotten off this med, that med, blah, blah, blah. All these medications. I'm pill-free now, first time in my life. To my comments on my own personal posts of people confirming, these things that I'm experiencing because I'm putting them out there and people see that and then they comment. I don't get comments anymore from people going, hey, you shouldn't show pictures of yourself smoking or that's bad for kids. No, I get because all the comment section is like, yes, I'm off of this pill and that does that for me and I'm experiencing the same thing, and the comment sections are thick full of people saying these things. And how can you go against truth? You know what I mean? Because that's what this is. This is truth. All these synthetic meds are fictitious, manifestations by these crooked cartel, companies out here that are being allowed to operate in the medical space with death rates attached to their medicines. Marijuana has not killed a soul in the history of the world.
All right, folks, 10 episodes in the books. I can't thank you enough for sticking it out. Kyle Turley, thank you so much for speaking with me. Super badass dude. Who dat, everybody? We'll see you on the next one.